it's got to go away. We knew that from the beginning. I have grown somewhat fond of this. Cam still thinks the car looks like a wart on a bullfrog's butt because, you know, it's green. Anyway, we need to get rid of the car. What we're going to do today is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I do to get a car ready to go, because we are taking this car to our local cruise-in today to show it off a little bit and also to put a for sale sign on the window and see just what people think this car is worth. Am I a little scared by this? Yeah, I'm a little scared, because what if people are telling me it's like a $1,500 car? I'm already depressed and I haven't even left yet. So real quickly, I want to kind of go over what we've done so far to this car. Right now, we're in the middle of doing a paint correction on it, but that's going to be something that'll happen over the course of time when I'm working with the boys, showing my younger guys how to go in and do paint correction. So far what we've done is we've rewired the car in the engine bay to clean the wiring up. That was done off camera because I really didn't feel like trying to do that, thinking it's not going to be much that you guys will want to see. So we've got all of our gauges now working in the car. The tach works, the oil pressure gauge works, the fuel gauge works, and the temperature works, but the amp meter and the clock don't. Now the clock is busted because this is a gauge package out of a car that sat probably without a windshield in it, because I found some rust staining around the clock. If somebody wants to do that on this car and make it work, the wiring's all there, that's going to be on you. We've also gone in and worked on the C4 transmission. You saw us do a shift kit on this car. We also went in and tightened the bands up to see if we could get that shifting problem out of it. It's still there. It's not all the time, but we still do have problems with the transmission shifting. So we may, if you guys are interested in seeing it, we may put the AOD in there, maybe do a video on how to check the AOD out, put it in the car, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested, leave a comment in the section below and we'll let you know if we're going to be able to do that, because we do have all the parts to make that happen in this car. So we've also done a freeze plug on the car. We showed you how that works, and that's all done now. So the car now has a good fresh set of coolant in it. It's got a brand new oil change that I did with a 1540 Rotella change. The 1540 is a little heavy on the initial, on the 15 side. It should be more like a 10, but it's showing a little bit of an oil pressuring problem. And I don't know if that problem was coming about because I smelled a good bit of gas in the oil. So it seems like at some point the Edelbrock may have been leaking. I don't think we have the leak issues we did. So I did do an oil change so we can see how that's working with both gauges working now, because I can't see the one up underneath the dash when I'm sitting in the seat. We'll know more about that when we get to the cruise-in today. By the time we get over there, we should know everything we need to know about how that's going. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through and do you just a couple of tips and tricks before we head out on how I do things to make a car like this shine and sparkle a little bit more. One of those things is our wheel and tire package on this car. It has a set of new old stock sport wheel covers for a Gran Torino Sport, as well as a set of race white letter tires. So you want to make those look as good as you can. I'm going to jump over to the other side and talk to you about how I do that. So when I do wheels and tires, this is really important to me because the paint job is pretty suspect on this car. Anybody that looks at this thing, if you sight down the door here, you can see just the fact that somebody that painted this car was just in a hurry to get it done. They weren't trying to do a really great job on it. At some point, if we sell this car, I'm hoping somebody will do just that. They'll take it and make a really great car out of it, but for right now, paint-wise, it's pretty bad. So I want to make these look as good as they possibly can. Now, when you've got a raced white letter tire like this, where you've got some pretty bad discoloration and it's kind of brown, there's a couple things you can try. And I'm not going to say these things are going to exactly always work. But one of the first things I'll do is I'll take something like this. This is our Sweet Patina Citrus Bubble Car Wash Soap. And this stuff actually works pretty well. I like the guys with Sweet Patina. They do a lot of cool stuff with their products, as well as some of the stuff out there in the community. They're very community driven. I'm going to spray it down with that, and I'm going to use a brush like this to clean the rubber. I'm not going to get the brush on this. And I'm going to try to go in and do a first clean on this tire just all the way around. Now, a lot of guys are going to say there's Wesley's Bleach White and some of these other products out there, and they work okay. I mean, they're not super great. They're not super bad. I've not had a lot of great success with getting color back on the letters on a race white letter tire. There's another thing I'm going to talk about when we get through with trying to do the detail out this way that can make a difference there potentially. I'm going to wipe my wheel off a little bit here. These, like I said, the guy told me these are new old stock wheel covers that he got from somewhere. They are in incredibly good shape. There's a few little holidays on them in places, but that could just be factory. A lot of people seem to think that parts on these old cars were really, really pristine and wonderful. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've gotten some new old stock stuff. It's just okay. If NPD tried to sell some of the stuff I've gotten new old stock, they would have the parts sent back. All right, I'm going to do a first wipe down with my dirty here to see what my tires look like. The tires are going to come up really quick. You're going to see how much nicer these tires look after just using that citrus bubble car wash on them and just wiping it off. Funny thing is, with this kind of a soap, you can clean it and the tire actually ends up looking really good. It's a nice flat. It doesn't have that super gloss that I'm not crazy about. Rubber's not super glossy. I'm sorry. If you like it super glossy, bueno. You have yours super glossy, but it's not supposed to be. Now you'll notice that the letters on here are still really gray and tan. Now what I'm going to do, there's two products you can try on this. This is the Barkeep's Friend is what I use a lot of times for this kind of stuff. It's basically like Comet. I tend to like Comet a little bit better because I think it's got some bleach in it, which will tend to whiten up the tire a little bit more. But I don't have any Comet, so I'm stuck right now using the Barkeep's Friend. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just not, to me, as effective as the Comet. So it's not really the greatest, and I'm getting it all over the floor. Now I'm going to hit it with a little bit of the citrus bubble. And now you know why I have a dirty towel. Now you can see probably a little bit of difference between this and this. The other thing that you can do is would probably go back in and hit this again and hit this a couple times just in order to bring that up to where the white is more white. There is paint pens that are out there now that people are using to white letter tires that don't come that way. So if you're doing it on a car that already has a raised white letter tire, you're going to get a really nice bright white out of it. That's something that's going to take a lot of time. For today, I'm just trying to get this thing cleaned up so we can get out of here and go and enjoy the show this afternoon. All right, so what did I do underneath here? Now this was an absolute mess when we got the car. It's just because the car sat up a ton and was not in a lot of use. So what I did was I came in here and I just cleaned the engine bay. I haven't done any kind of real detailing other than making the hoses look decent. You'll notice the inner fenders are still pretty trashed on it. And so those would actually, in my opinion, need to be gone in and really detailed if I were going to try to get top dollar for this car. But generally what I did was just, like I said over there, I cleaned up the wiring all through the side over here. I've got a little bit more work to do there. Took some of my Autosol and cleaned up the air cleaner lid, put a brand new filter in it. And we also put a 1-inch carb spacer on here to get the carburetor up off of the intake where it was sitting before. And really, one of the other things I did that was kind of neat, that worked really, really well, is I used this stainless scrubby in order to clean the valve covers off, because I find these valve covers were pretty trashed and they looked really nasty. So I wanted to go in and use something to clean them up, and I couldn't find anything that really did the job. Autosol tends to want to polish, and I wanted to leave them with the natural aluminum look. And in order to get some of the schmutz and trash that was all over them, I used a combination of this stainless scrubby and some carburetor choke cleaner. Unfortunately, I went through a couple of cans of our carburetor choke cleaner cleaning up the valve covers, but you can see they actually look pretty darn nice after the cleanup. This is not my normal level of what I would do to make a car like this look really nice in the engine bay. Normally I strip everything out and do a big detail. I don't really necessarily want to do that on this car because I don't think there's enough sugar in it for our nickel, so to speak, as my dad would say. But it is a thought that I have about going in and possibly doing a full detail and clean out. If you guys want to see that, leave a comment in the section below. That's really about all I wanted to talk about on this before we head out to go to the cruise-in this afternoon. There's still a wash down that we need to do to the car to get all the residue off where Jackson was learning how to buff the car. So that's going to have to be done. I probably will just show you a little bit of us washing it. Unfortunately for you guys, I don't have any buxom lasses and Daisy Dukes and bikini tops to wash our car. Cam and I could do that, but you really don't want that kind of therapy, do you? No, you don't. Yeah, as long as you stay right about here, it looks awesome. Just don't get any closer. All right, I have officially now driven this car further at this point, about, I don't know, 5 miles from the house, than I have driven it at all. So we'll see if it makes it all the way to Aiken. I do have support staff behind me. Deanna and Joseph are there. Jameson is in the back seat getting the snot knocked out of him by the wind from the 2 open front windows. Jackson and I, we're not getting any breeze at all. It's a Torino. Much? Too much? Good stuff. Well, it's not puking. That's a plus. So we were out here all day and literally no one called the phone number I put on the for sale sign in the front of the Torino. That doesn't really surprise me. This car is not going to be a car that's going to move at a local car show. We're probably going to be more likely to sell this thing at like on a Facebook Torino group or something like that. So no sale today, didn't anticipate it anyway. So we're heading back to the house and I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the things that we discovered on the way over here that we're going to need to work on. So away we go. All right, so that's it, folks. We did our little deal to the cruise in. So we go sometimes. We did discover a couple things I'm going to have to work on. The gauges are pegging out. I think that has to do with a voltage regulator issue or possibly a ground issue inside the dash somewhere. I think we've got a speedometer cable that's about to bid via Condios, so we might have to probably take care of that as well. Anything that you think you might want to see out of what we talked about today as far as videos, if there's something that you would like to see us do on this Torino, let me know. I may or may not do it, like the automatic overdrive. I may or may not do that just simply because I like the way this thing drives with the C4 in it. It's not going to be an interstate car, but it runs pretty darn nice. Yeah, we're tacking about $3,000 at 60 miles an hour, but so what? I'm only going from Aiken to here. And if I sell the car, I'll probably sell the AOD with it because I would probably rather do a 4R70W than a standard AOD and the TV cable and all that. So do me a favor, folks. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Auto Wrestling Mod. Cam's not here to keep me straight on that. Sometimes I have a problem with it. So he was actually here earlier today working on his big Dodge truck on that lift that we have in there. I didn't even want to. I was going to show you him working on it until I saw how sketchy it was. No, I'm not going to show it. It was scary. I didn't even stay in there. It was that scary to me. Like tires halfway off on either end of the lift. Well, we'll put it in the garage. I'm going to get some dinner. No sale. Do you like it? Seriously? Get video of that. This is what my camera crew looks like.
Loser alert.
No, you can move the screen. You can stand up even.
It's adjustable.